I really got to learn a lot of the production process, like how the idea for a gibbet, because I worked with the gibbets team. I didn't work with like the footwear team. I just worked with the gibbets people who do the unlicensed gibbets. So that's any gibbets that's not like Disney or any kind of collaboration. They don't do that. They just do regular gibbets like flowers or animals or whatever. So I worked with the design team and the category management team, and I kind of learned the production process from how there's an idea for a gibbet and how it actually ends up on the shelves, which I thought was really cool. It was also really great for networking. They all told me to get LinkedIn and add them, so I'm really excited about that. I typo, I never fixed it. But pretty much what I did, I just did two different things. For most of the first week, they had just moved into a new storage room, so I was just organizing gibbets all day, and I'll tell you more about it later. And then I did my own little mini project for the last 3 days. I just thought it'd be fun to share some of the lingo that I learned, because I learned a lot of new terms, and it was confusing at first, but now I'm glad I learned them. So a teardown is when they get a sample for a gibbet and it's not approved, maybe it's too big or the color's off or something. Instead of completely redoing the design for the gibbet, they just highlight what needs to be changed and fixed in what's called a teardown. The franchise is like the technical term for the category of the gibbet, so if it's like a food or like a flower, it's like a nature thing, so it's the technical terms for all the categories. Jewelry is jewelry for your shoes, which I thought was really cute. And I also didn't know that there was an actual word for like the black thing on the back that pops into your croc. That's the backer. And then an actual like business term is the buy ready date, which I thought was, the buy ready date is when external accounts like Macy's or TJ Maxx can place orders for the gibbet, and it's usually about 2 months before it goes on the shelf. So pretty much the gibbet has to be approved and ready to go into production by the buy ready date. And I think that's a lot of businesses across the world. Okay, so for my first task, pretty much what I did from Monday through Thursday was organize a bunch of gibbets, and that's also how I got so many, because they were like, if there's more than one, you can just take it, and I was like, that's great. But they had just moved into a bigger storage room, so they had so many gibbets that needed organizing. Like over here, I had to sort these all into Ziploc bags because they didn't fit up on these shelves up here, and those were all just loose. Like I had to organize them and put them in Ziplocs. And then these are all organized by franchise up here. It took a long time. Thankfully, on the last day, there was like an office cleanout situation, so I got a lot of help, and this was the final results up here. This is all that I did, and then the other people on the team did this up stuff, but I did the doors and the knitting. It was pretty regular intern work. Like other people who I talked to and also interned at Crocs did similar stuff, and it honestly wasn't that bad. It got a little boring towards the end of the day, but it was pretty relaxing. And then my second task was super fun. They had me do my own little design brief, which is pretty much what they do when they have an idea for a gibbet. So it has 3 steps. The first one is the mood board, which is where you literally create a mood board with the trends you're seeing and kind of the vibe that goes behind the product you're gonna pitch. And then the design brief is when you actually fill out like a thing with all the dimensions and more specifics about what you want the product to actually be. And then the mock-up is the third thing, which is where you kind of design the product, like a rough illustration of it, so you can see what the product would actually look like. I ended up doing 2 briefs for 2 different products because I had a bunch of ideas. I did not really get the mock-up part done. It was a lot harder than I expected, but I did get to present both of my ideas at the end, and they really liked my second one, so I'm hoping that it works out. But it was a lot of work. My favorite was probably the mood board, this was my first mood board for my first product, which is a camera case. I have a lot of different little accessories here, and I was kind of just trying to bring in what the trends I was already seeing and kind of just display them all onto this one mood board to kind of build up to my actual idea. And then my second mood board was for a shower caddy that you could put gibbets on. So I took a lot of different photos of summer camp vibes and because that was my basis was summer camp. So put them all on the mood board. These were super fun to make, probably my favorite part. And my 3 goals were, my first one was to become proficient at the program used to make gibbets. And my second one was to become more sure about whether or not I wanted to go into the business world and whether that was the right path for me, because I'd never really considered it, but I thought it would be cool to kind of see if that was something I wanted to do, and also learn about the actual production process. So that one was a success, the business one was a success, this one was a major fail. It was really bad. I don't even know if it was on the next slide. Yeah, so this was my first, they use Illustrator and Photoshop for pretty much all their designs for gibbets. This was my attempt at my camera case. It was really bad. It was not good. I only had 2.5 days to do it, which I'm kind of using as my excuse for why it was so bad. But thankfully their head designer, Nicole, was super helpful, and she helped me get it to that better mock-up down there, so it looks a little bit better. I thought I was going to be good, because I was like, oh my gosh, I did Illustrator in all my Dawson classes, I'm good. They do it a lot more professionally than I know. My second goal was the business world one, and I really think that this project was very eye-opening for me. I've always kind of envisioned business as this finance pro stock market type thing, but that's not really all that it is. It's a much broader field than that, and you can kind of do a lot of different things with a business degree, and that really the basis of business is creative innovation, and it's trying to get a product that you think would be great into something that consumers can buy. Once I started getting excited about my products, I was excited to go to work, and it didn't feel boring. And I just really realized that business is so much broader than I thought, and I really liked how much community there is in the office space and stuff. Oh, and I talked to the product developer who was super cool, and it was a really interesting job that I didn't even know existed. She's pretty much the bridge between the design team and the factories, and she gets to do a lot of working with both sides. She gets to travel a ton between Vietnam and China and America. It's super cool. She had the coolest job. So for my third goal, was to understand the production process, and I thought it'd be best to just kind of explain it so I can prove that I kind of understand it. But the first thing that you do is what I did, which is the design brief, which has the mood board, the brief, and the mock-up. And then you have a meeting with the team, and if everybody thinks that it's a good idea, then you make it into a design pack. The design pack is just a more detailed version, which has more of the dimensions and the colors and a lot more specifics. They send the design pack to the factories in China and Vietnam, and the factories make a sample and they send it back to the design team. Once you get the sample, you do a sample review, and if the sample looks good, you approve it, and it goes into testing, which is where they just test it. They pull it, see if it tears, they rub it against a crock a million times to see if it scuffs or whatever, and just make sure it's an actually good product, and then they'll go into production if it passes testing. But if it is not approved, you have to do a teardown, which is what I explained earlier, where you're just kind of saying, hey, this is what's wrong with it, it needs to be fixed. And then they send the new samples back after the teardown, and then it goes into the process. So it's actually not as complicated as I thought. So overarching lessons, the largest lesson I learned for sure was that the business world is not as boring, as scary as I thought. This was my site supervisor, Jillian. She was so cute. She was so nice. And everyone there was so passionate, and there was so much community. And it's not like you're just, that might have just been the job I was at, but it really took away so much of my fear of just sitting in a cubicle all by yourself and this. And it really wasn't like that as much. And I also really realized that having an actual job doesn't take away all your freedom. And you still have plenty of time for your personal life and stuff. I really just thought that real jobs are kind of just, they drain you and if you're passionate about what you do, that's not really how it goes. So
I mean, at least she's consistent.
Well, my strength was that I persevered every day, even when it got boring, especially around 3:30 when I would normally be going home from school. I had to stay there for another 2 hours. So I really persevered and kept working, and you know, kept pushing until 5 p.m. So even when things got boring, I'm really proud of myself for persevering and sticking with it. I was late every day, so that was my weakness for sure. And that's one I've been struggling with for a long time.
Apparently.
The effect on my vision of the future, it definitely took away a lot of my fear about the 9-to-5 life and just having a job in general. Like Caitlin knows, I'm always like, I don't want a job. It sounds awful. But actually jobs are not that bad. When you have a passion for what you're doing, it really makes it a lot more enjoyable and actually feels important. Yeah, like when I found my idea that I was excited about, like I was excited to go to work and like wanted to work on it, and I just really liked the community and wanted to explore the business path a little more. I definitely want to find one where I'm not sitting as much. So I was sitting for a really long time, but it's okay. And I 100% recommend this site. Everyone was super knowledgeable and always really willing to answer my questions. And they were all so friendly and friends with each other. It's just great to see. And what's cool about this site is that there's so many different teams that you can work with under Crocs. Like last year, Malika worked with marketing, and she did something completely different than me, but we worked with the same people. Also, you get a lot of free stuff. I got free Crocs on my first day. So I recommend the site. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Natalie?
Was that design process that you were showing us, was that just for Jibbits or was that for all?
That was just for Jibbits. I don't know about the footwear. I'm assuming that probably goes through